Okay, are we live?
We're live.
Okay, good. So welcome everybody to the Coaching Crucible April edition. I'm Gary Henson, Coach Gary, and today we have a special guest with us. In instead of Mr. Drayton Boylston, my cohort and partner in this 3-year venture of the Coaching Crucible, we have his Vice President of Training, Jenna, on the line. So Jenna, you want to say hi to everybody and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Gary. Yes, my name is Jenna Forster, and I have worked with the Executive Coaching University for about 7 years now. My official role with the university is Director of Operations and Training, and I am Drayton's right hand. I like to call him Batman. He likes to call me Robin. So I'm very pleased to be here with all of you, and I hope to share some of my thoughts with you. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share an hour with you, Gary, and with all of our participants. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, and vice versa. I'm glad to have you with us today as well, Jenna. And the other thing is that I guess it was about a year ago or so we did a class. I can't remember the exact topic, but I believe you were on that call as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We covered a little bit of information about neuroscience, the power of neuroscience, and we actually did 3 sessions in total. One of the sessions was on the Coaching Crucible, so we were able to share with your audience here, myself and my colleague Greg Stiles, we were able to share a little bit of information on neuroscience and brain science and the importance of bringing that into coaching and to bring that into how we serve our clients. So that is a recording. It was about a year ago, actually. And so any of the audience members can look back and take a look for that. I believe it is called The Power of Neuroscience. So yeah, it was a fantastic
Great.
session.
Great, yeah. And I noticed that topic is becoming more and more popular and talked about and used in the world of coaching. So we were maybe slightly ahead of the curve on that, which is pretty exciting. And I remember a lot of people were very active in that call and excited about that. And that brings up another topic, and that is that all of you listeners need to realize that we archive these calls and save them. I believe they're on our website, which is probably on YouTube. And if you'd like to access previous recordings and including the on the screen, what we prepare and any webinars or screenshots that we have, all that is on YouTube and on our website. So for the Coaching Crucible, so that's available to you all, and that's something that you can do. So if you're ready, Jenna, we'll get on to today's topic.
Absolutely, and I just want to get a show of hands. If some of you can raise your hands, make sure that everybody can hear us cleanly so that we can make sure nobody's missing anything. So Randy, Victoria, Victor, great. Sounds like everybody can hear us, Gary, so I'll let you kick us off, and let's have a great hour.
Great. Okay, good. So today's topic, Jenna, is how to present yourself and to whom. So Drayton and I were talking as we do every month. You know, what are we going to present and how are we going to present ourselves in the Coaching Crucible in the next edition? And one of the things that we see is that we're constantly bringing tools to the people on the call that they can use hands-on, Jenna, so that each and every month it's almost consistently either somebody asks questions of Drayton and I, and it opens up a conversation in addition to the topic for that month, or we have tools that we bring to the table that have people actually be able to take tools and use those tools and apply them to their coaching practice, or if they're not yet a coach, help them set up their coaching practice so that it moves them closer and closer to getting to that area. So today, how to present yourself and to whom is our topic, and I'm going to cover a couple of different areas, or we're going to cover a couple of different areas. We're going to talk about printed material and what it looks like if you hand out something to somebody or send an email or a communication to somebody, and there's some information that is there for them to see visually. Also, we're going to cover website, blogs, social media, etc. So how do you present yourself, and what's the look that you have, what's the message that you're giving people in those arenas. And also, if we have time, Jenna, I thought we could talk about face-to-face. So if you're communicating to a potential client or to your client, who are you being in the process? Who is the person that you are being and representing of your company or your business? Ray and I don't like to call them coaching practices. We prefer to call it coaching business. Who are you representing yourself as? Who are you being when you're in front of those people? And Jenna, I'm handicapped. My computer's not cooperating. So could you tell me, if you put the first example on the screen, what it says on there, and I'll speak to that.
Absolutely.
I believe I remember the order, but
yeah. So I've just
you
put
can
up
be my eye.
your bio.
Okay, great.
That's what everyone is looking at. And if I could just get a couple people raise your hands, let me know that you can see that screen and you're looking at Gary's wonderful face. And it says Gary B. Henson, business coach and trusted advisor. Yep, everybody can see it. So we are good to go there, Gary.
Okay, great. So what I want, before I get Jenna's feedback and we open dialogue between the two of us, what I want you to see is some things that I included on my bio. Now, this is not an everyday, ordinary bio or the type of bio that you would send it to a newspaper or a radio program if they're going to introduce you. This is the kind of thing that you want your potential clients or potential relationships to see. It's also called a CV, or some people call it a vitate, which for short. And what the point of this document is to represent yourself in a light that is going to have other people see the strengths that you bring to the table. And notice that we use the term trusted advisor at the top. And Drayton and I have been speaking that up. We've been talking about that month by month as you're not just a coach, you're a trusted advisor in some cases. Some people could refer to themselves as a consultant. Some people could refer to themselves as a business coach or an executive coach. And you could even refer to yourself as a mentor in some cases. So we're not stuck on the bio has to be a certain way. But what we do have here is we've represented an example of how to present yourself. And as I said, the title first of all stands out by adding the term trusted advisor. And then the other things that I want you to embrace and really get your arms around is it's very important that you don't talk about things that are going to be irrelevant or less important to your clients or potential clients. And by that, what I mean by that is some of you are saying, well, what do you mean? How do I know what's going to be relevant or not relevant to my potential clients? Well, the way that I do this, and again, we'll have Jenna respond to this in a minute and get some feedback on her side. But one of the things that I tell my students when they go through our courses and our home study courses to look at is you don't want to put things on there that are bragging about you. You want to create something that answers the question for the prospect, for the other person that you're corresponding with, what's in it for me? America's favorite question to ask ourselves, what's in it for me? Why do I want to hire this person? Why do I want to have a meeting with this person? Why do I want to have a conversation with this person? Or if you're whetting your appetite, like oftentimes when people will talk to me about doing an interview or teaching a class or public speaking, I'll correspond. They say, are you available this date? Would you be interested in talking to our tribe about this topic? And we think that you have something relevant to say to them. I'll respond and I'll attach something like this to the email so that they can get a thumbnail of who I am. But the point that I'm building up to here is that I don't go on and on and on and talk about, oh, I was class valedictorian at the Business Administration School of Harvard, or I got a BA at this school, or something else. Those things can be and are relevant. But what you want to do is you want to relate to other people topics and history that you have that make it relevant to answering the question, what's in it for me? So yes, it's great that you may have gone to college. That could be a powerful part of who you are. But if you've had 5 clients in the automobile industry, and that's who you're approaching is the auto industry, and that's your niche, then you want to talk about, I've had X amount of clients, and I got 50% increase in their net profits within 12 months or something like that. So it's not so much talking about you, although you did that. It's talking about, it's addressing the conversation from the point of view that you accomplished something for that niche, that industry, or that group of clients. So it may not be that broad of a niche. It might be your clients typically receive a 10% return on their investment in coaching dollars that they invest with you. Whatever it is, you want to talk about that. So in the red box at the center, it says over 100% in increased sales or profits. I'm talking about the majority of his clients' experience, a reduction of overhead costs, improved relationships in the workplace culture, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm giving at the top a brief intro as to who I am with my title, some successes. I highlighted them in orange. I listed some clients in the underneath the orange box there, some passions that I have. And then the other thing, get ready, Jenna, because I'm about ready to turn it back over to you in a minute here. The other thing I listed is some information about me, quotes from clients, and a little bit of personal information. So I didn't go to Harvard and I didn't go to their MBA program, but even if I did, I put some things on there that are about me personally that let people get to know that I'm also a human being, that I am the co-founder of the Make a Difference Project, yada, yada, yada. So those are things that may make me relate to other people so they can know a little bit about my personal life. And again, these things are sort of brief, and then, of course, how they can contact me at the bottom. Now, Jenna, in a moment, I'm going to answer the question, and if anybody would like to hear more about the answer to this next question after Jenna gets done responding, is some of you are saying, yeah, but I don't have those clients, Coach Gary. I don't have the experience that you have of 25 years in the business coaching industry, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to answer that after Jenna gets a chance to chat. So Jenna, feedback from you. What would you like to add to the conversation?
Absolutely, and what I love about what you have here, Gary, is I do believe in the trusted advisor, and you say it so well under passions here. If everybody looks at the page, it says Gary's favorite quote, and that's just a beautiful quote. A coach is someone who gets you to do what you don't want to do so you can be who you want to be. One of the things that Gary's injecting into this is not only is he speaking about experience and some of the things that he provides for the client, that what's in it for me, but the other piece that I think is just as important is that personal piece where you're getting to know Gary a little bit. And I think that that's a piece that a lot of marketing material can miss. And if you think about people, human beings, we connect on an emotional level. That's how we connect. So if you're looking to create engagement from someone, from an organization or an individual, there is a need, in my view, to connect to them emotionally. And when Gary, in this example, when Gary is putting in some of his passions and some of the things that he puts a lot of effort into, you're getting a glimpse into Gary a little bit more. And I think that that's a really great piece to add to this, because it does usually start in what's in it for me, what can you do for me? And then once you pass that, the order that is what I like of this piece here, where we've talked about what's in it for me. We've talked this orange box, the majority of his clients' experience. And really, what we're talking about here is what Gary likes work on, what he focuses on, and what he can provide for a company. So if you're maybe starting out in a business or you don't have the 25 years of experience, start to think from that place of, what do I bring to the table? How do I want to serve? How do I want to serve this organization? Well, I want to affect their bottom line by increasing productivity. I want to affect their bottom line by customer engagement. Those talents that you have and those interests that you have, because you're a coach and there's a reason that you're doing this. So start thinking from that perspective on what it is you like to provide. How do you want to serve an organization? And those are the pieces that you can speak to when you're trying to create the what's in it for me piece. And then Gary moves into the next piece of that, which is you. Who are you? How do I, on some emotional level, connect with you so that I'm willing to build a relationship with you? And that's where Gary is starting to speak about his passions and some of the things that he is involved with, because people will feed off of that and they will feel like, okay, I understand this individual a little bit more. I know more about Gary. I know some of his interests, and I have similar interests, because as people, we're always looking for connections. So if you come at it from that place of connections, how are they going to connect to you? And that's not about a website. That's about, as a person, how are they going to connect to you? So if you can portray a little bit about that in any material that you put out, you'll start to have a lot more success in it. I always think about the action part of building a business. It's about creating experiences that express how you want to serve. And it doesn't matter what you put out there. If part of you isn't in it, then in my opinion, it won't create the success that you're looking for. So Gary, that's a little bit about my thoughts around the development of material like this.
Boy, you keep making compliments like that, Drayton's going to lose his job. That was great. You just articulated some pieces that I missed, and I want to point to one of them that I think you did it. You mentioned it, but I really want to put a spotlight on it, and that is that I was talking, Jenna, about what's in it for them when I said the way that I laid this out and the way that I put this together. But the other thing that you subtly added to that is that I wouldn't put on there, if my niche was automobile dealers, I would be talking about 50% of all the auto dealers that I've worked with in the last 2 years have had XYZ results. So I can mention my niche, but I wouldn't go after a niche, and I wouldn't mention a group of people like school teachers if that's who I didn't want to coach. So when you shape it and put it together, you want to make sure that you're promoting something that you're absolutely excited about doing. So the client references, the testimonials, the areas that you work in, the niche that you have, you want to really strongly highlight all of that so that when the people contact you, they say, wow, this person works with auto dealers, and I'm an auto dealer. I bet they can bring something to the table that's really unique. I've never heard of a coach or a consultant or a trusted advisor that works with my people, people like me, and they're very attracted to you. So Drayton and I have just hammered this part, Jenna, in terms of creating a niche and a narrow niche, not a broad niche. And pick one that you love. Pick something that you can brag about. And all of us have some set of accomplishments that we have done in our life that we bring to the table. Jenna, about a year ago, we had a lady on the call. I have a sneaking suspicion she's probably on the call today. And she got on and said, oh, I don't know what I'm good at and this and that. And Drayton and I worked with her about 15 minutes on the phone, Jenna. And she has some extraordinary talents in the area of working with HR people in HR departments in large corporations. Now, a lot of us don't have that. and a lot of us don't have that experience. Well, she had a lot of experience, and she was one and relates to them really well and has great writing skills. So she was talking about becoming a life coach or an executive coach. We said, hey, why don't you just promote yourself and batch your tribe and create a newsletter and speak to those people because you love them, you love the language, you have experience. And she said, but I've never coached them before. Well, that's okay. You've got to start somewhere, right, Jenna? And maybe you can speak to that, how people get started with that, if you have any input you want to add to that part.
Absolutely, and one of the beautiful pieces that I heard in what you said, Gary, there was the importance of, to me, it's the importance of developing ourselves when we're building a business. You know, that whole John Maxwell quote of leadership's not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. It's about one life influencing another. And so many times building our business, it becomes external to us, and it becomes something that we need to quote unquote do. It's almost as if we've compartmentalized ourselves from the image we're trying to portray. So whether you're an established coach or just starting up, you must be in the equation. And as Bruno here said in his question, his comments to me, he said, I agree, show integrity. So that statement right there tells me a great deal about you, Bruno. So that's a part of what would be involved in anything that you create. So being in this industry and the experience that I've had with training coaches over the years, there always seems to be a key component that I consistently see missing in those coaches that find themselves that are unsatisfied with their business. I call it walking the talk, and what I mean is being an expression of yourself, and that's not fluffy. We're still talking having the right information there that's going to speak to the client, but most individuals embark on building a business or expanding their business strictly from their analytical mind, like you were just describing with the individual that was struggling with, well, I don't have all of this experience and I don't know what I can do. She's in her mind, right? And she's trying to figure out from the intellect what I can do. And so from our thoughts and emotions all the way to our actions and decisions, that intellect, it'll sift through your life experiences with this level of meticulous and often obsessive repetition, and we mull endlessly over what have we done. But the constant analysis of that, and when it becomes almost a compulsive habit, it only serves as a distraction. And it draws our attention away from how we want to make a contribution in this world. So when we spend so much time up in our heads, then we may not allow ourselves to be with ourselves long enough so that we can really create. And so the example, and I've had the similar experience with Drayton, so I can make some assumptions as to how that went. The two of you were able to pull her out of that very analytical intellect of hers so that she could start to feel what she wants to do, which is vital.
Well stated. Yeah, well stated. And the answer was right in front of her. She just couldn't see it, and thus the power of coaching. So I think what I would like to share now is there's some questions that you can ask yourself if you're wanting to develop a niche, or if you're developing a coaching business and you haven't defined your niche yet. And the first one is Jenna mentioned it, is if you're committed to making a difference, and typically, Jenna, that's the people that are on this call, the people that call my office, and I have one-on-one conversations with them. Ultimately, we get to a point where they say, I want to do this, I want to do that. And what I say to them is, well, you're committed to making a difference for other human beings. Oh, yeah, that's me. How did you know? And so the conversation goes that way. If you're committed to making a difference, and if that's what you want to do, what group of people are you committed to making a difference for? And not the world, because that's why we have the United Nations and a president of the United States and government and things like that, but what niche of people would you want to work with? So that's one question you can ask yourself. And I was talking to a gentleman the other day who was, he's currently retired at this point, and he's entering coaching. We were having a conversation the other day, and we somehow got around to the topic of marriage. And he said that he was an excellent husband. He was an expert at marriage. He was this, that, the other thing. And I said, well, what qualifies you to be happily married for this 29 years or whatever? He says, well, because I was divorced 3 times before I met my wife. And after I experienced 3 times, I'm the only one that was in all 3 of those equations. Before I met my wife and married my wife, I was committed to looking at myself and figuring out, how can I be a better husband, and how can I not look at the other person and say, well, you have this fault and that fault, but look at myself all the time and say, constantly, every day, how can I be a better husband? So maybe that person, and it doesn't have to be the case, maybe that person could be a great life coach or marriage coach, or work with couples or people on finding their life partner, because he's figured it out, and he figured it out the hard way. So maybe he's passionate about that. So what group of people are you committed to making a difference for? And then what do you bring to the table? And Jenna, I can't say this enough times. The people on the call and the people that will be listening to this recording down the road, we all bring something to the table. When I started when I started businesscoach.com under its original name, Advanced Business Consultants, 25 years ago, I too had to go out and get my first client, right? So I didn't have any clients, and I sort of had to position myself and put myself in a position to get that first client or 2 or 3 before I could start telling people about my great track record. And one of the things that I leaned on is that I had some successful businesses, and I had some successful failures in business, and I was helping people to see that they were missing basic things in their businesses, and that they were going to struggle mightily unless they put certain things in their businesses. So if you didn't have a P&L that was current, if you didn't have a plan, if you didn't have job descriptions, and I can go on and on and on down that path, but the point is that I figured out a niche of people, and I wanted really, really badly to help that group of people. And I didn't care whether I had any clients or not. I was going to go out and find a client, and then another one, and do whatever I had to get in front of people so that I could get started and get my business going. So those people, Jenna, that are out there that don't have their first client, or think that they have to have it all figured out before they get going, we need to share with them that getting started is a really, really key point in their career right now.
Absolutely, and I think I agree that it's key. And for me, my main focus was on women leaders, and it came from exactly the same experience that you're speaking about, Gary, where I started out as a coach. I started out as a life coach way back in 2004, and I had a corporate background, so I enjoyed the dynamics of the corporate world. So I drifted over to executive coaching, and I've been there ever since. But I was also, along my journey, became drawn to female leaders, CEOs and leaders of organizations that were women, because I have a passion for that, and I believe in that individual. And that drive alone is what creates the outcomes of what I'm doing. All of the different things that I do, it's all driven by that. So I love how you put that about focus on what's driving you. What are you passionate about? Who are you passionate about? Are you passionate about managers? Are you passionate about top-level CEOs? Are you passionate about nonprofits? Are you whatever you really find juiced about? That's where to start, and start looking for that and offering up your services. I'm not talking about free. You are here to provide a service, because that's a big piece, right? Most people give themselves away, and I'm not a big proponent of that. I don't believe.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. And if you what my thought is if we don't come from what we're passionate about or what drives us, we end up creating a business that's based on something or somebody else. And I know I did that for myself when I first started in business. Is I was going down a lot of different paths and feeling not really engaged in a lot of them, but not really sure what to do about it. And I really had to, go back to that developing of ourselves through this. I had to figure out that I was trying to prove myself to someone outside of me, and I was creating a business based on that. So I really feel that this is a key component of creating a successful business, is finding what you're drawn to. And then you do get to that place of it doesn't really matter. I need to do this. And it really pushes you forward. And there's this passion that people connect to from that.
Amen and amen to all that. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'm sure that there's people that are listening now and maybe listening to this recording and say, oh, that's great, Coach Gary. It's great that you and Drayton and Jenna teach us all this, because you have all these things that you could put on your bio, on your website, on your printed material, on your brochures, and so on and so forth, but I don't have that experience, I don't have that background. And I'm going to share with you now what I did when I got started, and then let Jenna talk a little bit about this. And there's probably, if we had 4 other senior coaches on here that have been doing coaching for years, they would probably give a different story, because we all had to start somewhere, and we all got to start somewhere. But what I did was, Jenna, I took the language similar to what you see on my bio here, and I took the language and I worded it such that, for example, if I put for 25 years, Gary has pioneered the professional business coaching industry, my opening remark. 25 years ago, obviously, I wasn't that, so I put for 25 years, I have been successful at creating business results, and I talked about my history, that it wasn't as a coach, it was about my business background. So I talked about some of the things that I had achieved in business, and for those of you that are coming out of becoming an RN or a car salesman or an insurance agency, and you don't see how that's relevant, then create relevance out of saying, I worked in the medical field, if you were an RN, for the last 15 years, and then talk about what you got out of that you bring to the table. So whatever your niche is, you want to relate it to that niche. Now that RN example may not work for your niche. You might have to find something else, a hobby or something else. We've joked around about, for years, Jenna, about being a household engineer or a mother, stay-at-home mom, but there's relevance in raising kids and being the president of the PTA group or volunteering for the school food drive or whatever. All those experiences, you can reword them in a way that you can fill out something very similar to this. And if you don't have any clients, obviously you can't put clients on there, but what I did in my situation was I sat down with my corporate attorney and I sat down with my insurance agency agent, and I sat down with my CPA, and I said, you've known me for a number of years, and you know me to be a credible person. Would you write that on a letter and send it to me, and kind of slant it? Don't put, you're my favorite client, and I enjoy the fact that we've had a relationship for 10 years as a client, but just that we've had a relationship and that I'm a credible person. And it sounded almost like a letter of reference or a testimonial. And I just had them slant it in a way that there was no lying or exaggerating, but I gave credible letters attached to my original resume that substantiated that I was a part of the business community, that I had known this person for a long time. I chose people, obviously, that were credible in the business community and known in the business community, and that's how I originally got my original references, Jenna. And obviously, at the bottom, you can put member of the Better Business Bureau or a member of the coaching Crucible club or whatever other associations or groups you might belong to, but I was able to put something like this together that maybe wasn't as complete as today's, because I've obviously have 25 years of experience to put on there, but I created the environment and I created the relationship with the people that I was getting in front of that let them know that I had credibility in the business community, and the letters were attached to that. Anything you want to say about that, Jenna, before we move on?
Yeah, I like that approach of just looking around you and what you're already involved with, and those individuals that you've been involved with to whatever capacity that is. You know, if you're on a PTA or if in your work environment you have had experience with the different levels of the organization, and collecting some of that information to be able to put that together, because most people that are coaches have been coaching on a non-specific manner for a very long time. Normally I find in the coaches that we train, those coaches that stand out, they in everything that they do, they have been coaching for a very long time, and they just haven't put any
Yes.
parameters around that. So there is information around you if you look around you and you start to ask questions and you start to make the appropriate requests of people, then you'll be able to collect that information quickly. Surprisingly enough, it does come quickly, and I did the same method. I used it more as a verbal reference. I collected some for marketing material, and then I had core individuals that a potential client would be able to call and have a conversation with, to have a discussion on how I could potentially serve them. So one of the things that I know you guys have covered, you've talked about having a process and the importance of that, and then the other piece of it is having this type of material out there so that you can engage the individuals, and really all of the references or testimonials that you need are usually right in front of you, and it's sometimes just stepping outside of ourselves to be able to collect that.
Yep. All you have to do is ask, and the worst that you're going to get is a no, and the best that you might get is the person might surprise you with a letter that'll knock your socks off, and they might think that highly of you, and you never had that.
And even better than that, it can.
You might surprise you.
And even better than that, it can be, you coach? Huh? I wouldn't mind being coached. And you have your clients.
Yeah. Or one of my clients could probably use your services. Tell me more.
That's right. That's right. Engage.
Absolutely.
Be willing to engage in the conversation.
Absolutely. That's great. Good. So would you tell me what the next slide looks like, please?
Absolutely. So this is discover why some businesses perform. We work with clients. On the right-hand side, it says we work with clients in these areas, increasing profitability.
Good.
Okay.
Good. So this particular piece, I send along, if it's an email, I send it along with my bio as page number 2, or in some of the handouts that I have, it's the backside of my bio, and it talks in detail about what I do. So if I'm going to send somebody the bio piece, the first one, it gives them a pretty good description, and this would be sort of like a brochure or a flyer, or discussing the different areas that we work with our clients on, so that they can get a deeper understanding after they've had a chance to look at the bio. So this would be something that, as I say, could be the backside of a handout if the front side is the bio, or it could be something that that you include in an email, or that you send out to a certain group of people as part of your bio, and gives people an idea of what it is that you do. And again, please notice how specific that we created the conversation here, and how it really delves into what's in it for them. So on the right-hand side, we work with our clients in these areas, increasing profitability, hiring top performers, bigger and better goals realized, increasing employee accountability, et cetera, et cetera. So it identifies the areas that we work, and again, we talked about this moments ago. You want to put areas and work with people in areas that you're passionate about. So it should fit into your niche. It should be something that you enjoy doing, and it should be something that you can write about so passionately that when you put something like this together, it fires you up, just the mere thought of working with people in these particular areas. So Jenny, you want to expand on this at all, or is there anything more that we should add?
Yeah, one of the neat exercises that I went through when first developing a better idea on how I wanted to serve individuals is I asked myself the question of anything that I listed, I asked myself, can I write a white paper or a blog post or whatever you want to call it on this subject matter? And if I could, then I knew I was passionate about it, and if I couldn't, then I had to ask myself the question of, okay, why is this on there? So it was a little checks and balance that I did for myself to really keep me in alignment with how I wanted to serve. So that's a neat little exercise that you could take on. And if you put on here increasing profitability, well, could you write me a paper on that? And I'm not talking about a 6-page diatribe. I'm talking about a post, because that will allow you to know a little bit more about why.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well said. And I think Jenna just saved us some time. I was going to, after a couple of slides, go into blog posts, Facebook and Twitter posts, writing articles and white papers, things for your website or other people's websites. Obviously, as Jenna said, you want to write on those topics or promote those topics that you are excited about and that you love, and they're not only good for these for the handouts and for things that you include as attachments to emails, but it's great stuff to put on your website, on your blog, social media, anywhere. And when you write those topics, remember, these all become future topics, future articles, and blog posts and stuff that are archived for the future. So when people come back and come to your website a year from the time that you start blogging, and your first topic, I'll just cover the ones that we have listed here. Your first topic is how to increase profitability is number one in our brochure here, and you write a blog on that. That becomes archived. And then the next one is hiring top performers. The next one's bigger and better goals realized. You archive these things, and it all talks about who you are, what you're up to. So all of this is a conversation that Drayton and I have touched on in the last couple of months about your methodology, who you are for your clients and potential clients, what you bring to the table, the conversation that you're in, and I've been saying lately, Jen, in the past months now, that it used to be called branding. I call it positioning. You're putting yourself in the position, in a place where this is what I do, this is what I'm the expert at, I'm the thought leader of this area, or a thought leader in this area, and this is what my position is on hiring top performers. Here's how you do it. Here's some things to look for. Here's 10 reasons why 10 mistakes you don't want to make, 10 things you don't want to forget. However, you don't even have to, doesn't even necessarily have to be in an article if you want to do a list of 10 things you don't want to do or 10 things you do want to do. It can all bring value to the table, and all of it portrays who you're being, what you stand for, what position you're taking for your clients and potential clients.
Absolutely, and I'm a big believer in thinking outside the box, and if for some reason if you're struggling with putting this piece that's on your screen together. Start by writing a blog post on it. And you'll be amazed at what you can develop off of that blog post. Like Gary is saying, you can use that information in so many ways. I am a big proponent of creating one thing and then using it in all these different spiderweb ways, because then you're not spending all of your time having to recreate the wheel. You've already got a baseline of content, and then you can build off of that. So for anyone that is wondering, there's a couple things. For anyone wondering if a certain niche is wanted or is needed within their group of individuals or who they're looking to serve, write an article on it, put a blog post on that, send it to everybody you know and get some feedback on it. The other piece is create the blog post simply to spark the creation of this other material so that you can start. You'll be amazed at once you get the momentum, things just, they do come out of you, and they do they are in you become this creation mode, and that's fun. So not seeing it as this heavy burden, but in whatever order you wish to take things on, it's just about creation and creating things and being an expression of that.
Beautifully put. Yeah, really well put. And again, this is all a choice that we make, things to do. This is not a laundry list of, oh my gosh, they're giving me lots of things to do. These are part of being an entrepreneur. These are part of choices that you make as to what your practice, your coaching business is going to look like. This is part of the way that you introduce yourself and that you position and brand yourself so that other people will notice you. And the ones that note, for example, if you are only working with auto dealers, or even more specific, used auto dealers, or more specific, used auto dealers within a 25-mile radius of your home or office, and that takes out of the picture 99% of all the possible clients for you in that region. But it also puts a heavy spotlight on that group of people, that when they see your blog post, when they see your article, when they see who you say you are for them and what you bring to the table, it makes you the thought leader by being the only one that probably does that, if that's how tight your niche is. So it's not so much about it's not only about attracting the people that you want to attract, it's about taking out the people that you don't want and putting the focus on, this is what I do and this is what I specialize in, and if that's what you're looking for, then I'm for you, and if that's not what you're looking for, that's okay. You don't want to waste your time and their time ferreting through that. So the other thing I think we should say before, while you put the next slide up, Jenna, is the other important aspect is consistency. Don't attempt to be all things to all people. Pick your niche, pick your articles, pick your blogs, pick your statement that you say about yourself, and make it consistent through and through and through. And it's work in progress for me. Jenna, we've been looking at this for several years, and probably a couple times a year we refine the statements that we make about businesscoach.com and who we are and what we stand for all the time. And I keep learning and growing and changing a word here, a sentence there, putting up another version of what we say we are, to be more and more and more clear to a very specific group of people.
Absolutely, and what I love about that is learning and growing and expanding. That's what we're doing as individuals. And when you're constantly redefining things and within the same niche, but saying things a little bit differently and expanding on a subject matter and really diving into one thing that you're right now this month you are interested in, that and being in that and expressing it out and becoming a thought leader on it, then that means that you are learning and growing and expanding just as you put out to your clients. So that says something in itself when you're constantly expanding. So I'm a big believer, there's no such thing as perfection, there's only consistency. And consistency of message is so very powerful, because just as you said, Gary, you become known in a certain industry, you'd become known to a certain grouping of individual, and they come to you. They will come to you and ask for opinions and thoughts and or referrals, or hey, I've got this situation, what do you think about that? And then you're really starting to build your business by being you, by answering the questions from the place that you're in. I'm a big proponent of people being thought leaders. So what are you passionate about? Who are you passionate about? That niche piece, and then really diving into that and create what's on the forefront of your mind around that, and express it out. And I think for me, when I first started my business, I had a lot of fear around that. Who would want to listen to me? Who would want to read what I have to put out? Right? Who am I? Who am I to know any of this? But if you're not putting it out there, then you're leaving these individuals with nothing to go to, with no one to ask the question of. And if you're truly here to serve, then isn't it about putting out information to help serve others? It's just a different way of looking at things, and a different perspective. I think sometimes we get trapped in who
Yeah,
am I?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what slide is on the screen next?
So we have the business coaching third slide. It is build a smarter business.
Okay, good. So these are some of the words that that we use on a particular page in our website, and we turned it into a brochure that is part of a bigger series of documents or pages. And I just thought it might be good for people to see how we just took graphics off of the internet and put a bunch of them together, and then stated some of the things that we felt strongly about in that particular segment of our website. So build a smarter business, discover why some businesses perform, what makes some businesses smarter, and how to profit from a socially savvy workplace, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a statement and some graphics that we put together, and I just wanted to show that as consistent with all the things that we've talked about up to this point, both in graphics and in words. We put this together, and it's sort of the beginning of an article or a section on a particular topic that we wanted to bring forward. And we're consistent with our colors, our graphics, our statement of what we're offering, and it's an opportunity for you guys to see a little bit something different that you could have on. That could be the banner for a blog site, or it could be a cover for an article, or a bunch of other things. And of course, you use your own words and create your own way of wording that.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some of these questions and statements that are being put up on the screen, and Anthony just said progress, not perfection, and I love that as a build on to what we were just speaking about. And the consistency of message, so you're not going off and talking about something that's way out there when you're over here, and you're using the consistency of colors and the consistency of how things look, so that people can understand you a little bit more, and they know, they almost have a level of expectation that comes around that. And that's not a negative thing. That's a very positive thing. When people have an expectation of you, that means that you built that and you've created that, and that's something to be embraced. A lot of people get very bogged down by that, but I think that's a tremendous opportunity. And then I just want to add in here, because I don't want to leave Bruno out, but he had mentioned here, Gary, he said, do you see an opportunity for business owners that are burnt out? Inventing yourself instead of quitting and starting a new business. So these kinds of questions, and then Bruno, what I think about this is maybe have these conversations with some individuals that are in the industry, and or create some information, a couple of articles on this, and feed it out and see what kind of response you get. And I'm a big believer in asking the question out. Just as you're asking Gary and myself, and Gary, I'll let you speak to this a little bit here, but ask it of them, right? Go to these business owners and ask them, is it more valuable to reinvent yourself than to quit and start again? So that's just my take on that question. Gary, I don't know if you have anything to add around that, so we don't skip that question.
Yeah, I'll just say one of my coaches one time said that you could probably get more clients by creating a database of close relationships and asking questions of them. What's missing? What has you burned out? Where are you struggling? What help are you seeking in the world? And the answers, and following up with people. I really appreciate you answering these 3 questions and going out to these people. Found niche after niche after niche of surprise things that business owners responded to. And so asking questions of different groups of people, if you want to work with used auto dealers within 25-mile radius of where you live, go out and interview a bunch of them, ask questions, and find out what it is that they're struggling with. And you can get all kinds, by asking questions like that, you can find out all kinds of things that would really help and support you developing your coaching business. And then the last slide, Jenna, is an example that ties in with everything that they've seen so far. And it should say Build Smart at the top of the screen. Is that correct?
It does, yes.
Yes, and that is an article that we wrote that fits the previous graphic. It fits the tone of everything that you've seen so far today, and it's consistent with our theme. And it's an article that we offer to people so that when was actually featured in a magazine, but it's something that we offer to people so that they can find out more about what it is that we're talking about right now, or what it is that we think is interesting in the marketplace. So we wrote an article, and again, I don't want to make it complex or have people think that you have to be a professional former beat writer for the Wall Street Journal, but we just created a conversation and started looking at some of these topics that Jenna and I have been bringing up today, and started thinking, what would be a way that we could word that? And we looked through a bunch of magazines and other articles and found that there was this niche of writing an article on turning brilliant ideas into smart moves. And we created the SMART acronym, S-M-A-R-T, which is probably on the next page of the article or whatever. Different things that business owners and coaches should look at when they build their business. And so we created an article around it. So that's a follow-up thing for people that when you're in contact with people, you want to either have a newsletter or send people an article or let people see the latest thing that you're blogging about, talking about, that you're featuring, that you're promoting. And you're the thought leader because you're creating that conversation. So you have that piece of information to add to the other things that you have when you are in contact with a client, a potential client, or someone that may have contacted or been referred to you. So Jenna, that's most of what I had to say today. We're running a little bit tight for time. Is there any questions or that are asked that we can answer, or is there anything that you want to add in commentary here as we draw close to the top of the hour?
Absolutely. I think we've handled all the questions, so we're good on that point. If anybody has one, you can type it in here and I'll try to get to it. We just have a little less than a minute left. But I love this idea and empowering people to just take some steps. Just take a step forward, and you'd be amazed at what can come out of that. I'm forever sending things to clients, potential clients, people that I know, saying, I thought you might find this interesting, because I know enough about them to know that they would look at that subject matter and find it interesting, while I wouldn't send them another subject matter. So just get to know people and have conversation and go from that place of service. How may I serve this individual? While you may not be a client of mine at the moment, I still do believe that you would get value out of this, so I'm going to send it to you. And so there's
Yeah,
lots of ways to be in the forefront of people, really with the integrity of just serving, of offering out. And that's been quite successful for
absolutely.
me.
Absolutely. So, Jenna, thank you for volunteering and taking your time today to help us and fill in the big shoes of Mr. Drayton Boylston.
Absolutely.
And I always enjoy talking with you and having this opportunity to spend some time with you. And I would ask all of the listeners to say that have joined us today, thank you very much for being part of the Coaching Crucible community, and join us next month, same time next month, and we will have another topic with more valuable material to give you and support you to help building your coaching business. So tell your friends, tell your associations and your coaching clubs or whatever you belong to, pass the word out, pass the invitation out. We want to continue to build our Coaching Crucible community, and thanks again for everybody being on the call today. Many blessings.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.